Hello, sir. Catherine, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Okay. So why don't we give Beth one more minute? It's possible she might not make it. She has an animal who's in the process of dying and they're at the vet right now. So.
Okay. Yeah. Let's wait a minute, I guess. Hey, Art.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes. Megan and Linda, can you hear us? Okay. Yes. Okay, good. So Catherine, so far we have Sarah Teal, Usha Devi, and Andrew Hopkins. And you recall Andrew is here on behalf of Lakeline Oaks, so
Yes.
you may want to.
So we'll jump to that right after we finish our public comments. Okay, so Jimmy, I see you, but no video. Is Diana with us today?
Yes.
Yes, we're both here.
Okay, but no video?
Do you need a video?
No, I'm just asking. You know, I didn't. Okay. So let me get, you're going to be my timekeeper for me, Jimmy?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Well, we're a couple minutes over, so let's just go ahead and we're going to go ahead and start the meeting. I'll go ahead and just run the public comment section tonight. So it looks like we just have two people on tonight. Sarah, did you want to make a public comment?
I do. Just a public comment, no agenda items.
Okay, and how about Usha? Did you want to make a public comment?
No, thank you.
And did you want to speak to any agenda items?
No.
Okay, well then Sarah, I guess it's just you tonight. So you got 2 minutes.
As I have shared in public comments before, I've had several unsavory interactions with the deed enforcement contractor, Sage Management, run by Jimmy and Diana Sagnas. When they first came to the district, I was encouraged when they said they aimed to help with deed enforcement in a friendly and ethical manner. To say that this is not the experience I personally have had with them would be a vast understatement. They have not only come onto my property multiple times, bothering my husband right after we pull our trailer onto the drive, which has no grounding in my deed unless it's over 48 hours, but more recently collaborated with other district contractors to illegally remove my family's political signs. It got so bad that we were forced to formally request they not enter our property because of the continuing harassment. I have read my deed and have an understanding of my property rights and where to turn if they are violated. This knowledge has allowed me to protect myself and my family. Many of my neighbors have not been so lucky. Neighbors continue to share stories with me about incidents where Jimmy is coming around and telling them they have to do things to their property that have no connection to what is stipulated in their deeds for Section 1. More recently, I had contact with a neighbor who Jimmy first verbally misled and then was also sent a deed enforcement letter that included requirements that were not legally grounded. This is very concerning to me, and I have to wonder, who is checking the letters that Sage Management is sending to neighbors to make sure they are accurate? I do hope that the board directors that were voted to represent the best interests of the people will not continue to allow a contractor to defraud, threaten, and abuse their constituents in this way. I can hear from the stories of my neighbors how these encounters make them feel unsafe in their home and unwelcome in our community. I fear that this handful of my close neighbors may be only the tip of the iceberg. So if you are a neighbor who has been contacted by Sage Management, either verbally or with a letter, and what they are telling you doesn't seem to correspond to what your deed actually says, know you are not alone. If you have experienced any of these deed-related issues, please reach out to forum.wtcmud1@gmail.com. If there is enough interest, the forum will do another virtual Protect Your Rights seminar to
Time.
discuss these issues in January.
Okay, it looks like that was it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to formally close the public comment section of this meeting, and I'm looking, it looks like we're going to jump to agenda item 14.
Right.
And that is funding for interaction with Anderson Mill West, Hunters Glen, Lakeline Oaks, and Valente Hills. And we have with us tonight the account manager for the Lakeline Oaks Homeowners Association, who is making a request for use of beautification funds to landscape the entry of Lakeline Oaks on the Little Elm entryway. And go ahead, Andrew.
Hey, thank you everybody for letting me be on here and moving me up. So I do appreciate that very much. So yeah, I had sent over the estimates. The work is actually done. So I think I sent you guys a picture of that as well so that you could see that. But yeah, we're asking for $6,237.25 of the beautification funds to pay that off. I have not yet received the final invoice from the contractor, but it should be what he put in his proposal. There was no other, so it should be that. I don't know if this is the time to ask or not, but I know I had also sort of inquired about holiday lighting using the beautification funds for that. Should I wait for another meeting or can I ask about that?
No, go ahead and this is your spot on the agenda to talk about beautification funds. So at this point though, let me clarify what I heard you say, which is that that the contract work is done. Is that what
Yes.
I'm saying? It's been done.
Yes, it's done. It's complete.
Okay. And have you submitted anything formally?
No, I haven't received. I'm waiting on him to send me the final invoice, which should match what I already sent you, which is the proposal. Shouldn't be any different. But yeah, I've asked him a couple of times to get me the final invoice.
Yeah, he
so
wants
I
to
can
get
send
paid,
it
I'm
over.
sure.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
So, but we're in no rush to get it paid. So as soon as I get that invoice, I'll email it over to you guys.
Okay.
You can pay him directly if that's easier for you, or you can pay it. How do you?
Okay, I guess that's the question is, how do we want to handle this? Because we have done that in the past where we've like the neighborhood association, we coordinated with Infomark and we had them make the payment directly to the vendor when the thing that we ordered finally came in. And they just paid them directly and then did their journal entry. So it came out of the beautification funds. So I don't have any issues doing that. And so why don't we just continue talking about the landscaping and then we'll swing back and twirl back around and we'll talk about holiday lighting.
Yeah.
So okay. So does anybody have anything to add to the conversation?
Well, Catherine, before you have a discussion amongst the board, in your packet or attached to the invite is a proposed resolution under 14. Now, what I did is I drew up the resolution based upon the information that was available and our typical process where we consider disbursements from the beautification fund. We don't have anybody from Infomark on the Zoom call today.
Okay.
But I'm assuming that the balance in the Lakeline Oaks beautification fund would be sufficient to fund this.
Yes, there's more than enough money to fund this. Hold on, I'm having
how much we have offhand?
Well, I want to say that it's somewhere in the $20,000 range. That's what I
Wow.
think.
I think it's around
Yeah.
16,000, Catherine. I
Okay.
asked Michael.
Okay.
I remember him saying
That it was
And-
somewhere, okay.
around
And so-
16,000.
So I drew up the proposed resolution just based on past practice. And
Okay,
so, all that's open for discussion. We do
Right.
not currently enforce restrictions in Lakeline Oaks. Goodwin Management does the enforcement.
right,
So we're not accruing any more fines in Lakeline Oaks. This revenue in the fund was from prior fines when we were
Correct.
enforcing.
correct.
And then to remind the board that these funds are general funds. They're not restricted funds. We've designated these accounts to allocate those fines and the money that we had for purposes similar to what we're discussing. But this money can be spent for any legitimate district purpose. And
Okay,
having kind of an intro for the new directors. But
Right.
yeah, I think it would be appropriate for the other directors to comment on the project and the process that we're looking at here.
Right, and I'm sorry, Bill, I'm having a problem finding the resolution that you sent. So do you remember what day you sent it?
Yeah, the update. Well, it's the last update. Let me see if I can share it on the screen.
That would be great.
Sometimes
That
this
would-
works. Sometimes it doesn't. Can you see a resolution on your screen?
Here we go. There it is. Yes.
All right. And so this is what I had attached to the invite with the update.
Okay.
So we just have some recitals that talk about the beautification fund.
Right.
We did a resolution in February 2019 that confirmed the establishment of the funds and who may request disbursements. And then we've received a disbursement request from Lakeline Oaks. And then there's some findings here, and the findings are important. Finding that enforcement deed restrictions within Lakeline Oaks neighborhood is necessary to sustain taxable property values in the district, and that this distribution to pay for the enhancement project will promote the continued functioning of Lakeline Oaks HOA and thereby facilitate enforcement of deed restrictions in the district, because Lakeline Oaks HOA enforces deed restrictions in that portion of the district. And the rest is really the resolution on the distribution. I put the payee blank because I didn't know how we were going to pay this, whether it's direct to the contractor or to the HOA as a reimbursement. I did put some conditions in here for the board to consider, which can only be expended for the stated purpose. We have to have written confirmation that the actual expenditures are provided to the general manager within 30 days. That could
Okay.
be, if we pay that direct, the confirmation will be easy because we'll be able to confirm it. And
Right.
then any amounts that are approved but not spent within 90 days shall be returned. We just don't want to have it open-ended where we have this money out, especially if we give it to the HOA. We don't want
Okay.
it there for a long time.
Okay.
That's pretty much all the draft resolution says.
Okay. Okay. So at this point, I'll go ahead and I'll read the draft resolution, and then we'll get a second.
Yeah, you don't have to read it into
You
the
don't. I
record.
don't have to. You're not
No.
gonna
What-
force me to.
No, not on this one. This is an actual resolution. So if we adopt it, it'll get signed. If you approve it, it'll get signed and it'll be a record. You don't have
Okay.
to read it into the minutes. But we do need to determine on this blank whether we're going to pay it to Lakeline Oaks HOA or to the contractor. That's something
Okay.
you'd have to determine before you would have a motion to approve this resolution.
Well, I guess I guess I'm willing to leave it up to Andrew as to what is most convenient for you. Because at this point, what's going to happen is this is going to come out in the January check run. It's too late to get it approved for disbursement and process for the December meeting. So since you don't have it, actually have the invoice in hand, that probably works out well. So I'm willing to go ahead and say, we'll disperse it directly to your contractor once you submit the invoice to us, and then
Sure.
it'll be paid next month.
When you say next month, what's the date of your normal check run? When do you guys do that?
Well, so it would be, this week, next month. So what is that? The
So
third week,
middle
the
of- it's
third,
in-
yeah, the
third week?
third week of January is what it's going to be.
Yeah, no,
So,
that should be fine because they're on a net 30. So if once he gets that to me, that would be within their 30 days for payment. So that if that's the
okay,
easiest for you guys, then let's just do it that way.
okay.
I don't have a
Well,
problem.
I'm actually trying to make it the easiest for you. I don't care about your contractor. So,
Then yeah, if you guys can pay him directly, then let's just do that.
well,
That'll
it's less journal entries for everybody then. Okay, so I'm going to make a motion that we adopt the resolution as it's presented for the use of Lakeline Oaks beautification funds for landscaping, their entry for a total amount of $6,237.25. And this is going to be paid directly to their contractor. And is that Ecosystems?
Yeah, ecosystems.
And it's going to be paid directly to Ecosystems. And is there anything else that I need to add to that, Bill?
That's a sufficient motion.
Okay, so I need a second.
Hold on, I'm reading it here.
Bill, can you close your resolution, please?
Yes,
Because it's covering my notes. Thank you.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, so now we can have a discussion. So what do we want? Is there anything else that we need to discuss about this process?
Yes, Catherine, I have some questions for you.
Sure.
Did the board, the previous board approve this project before it was constructed?
No, this is the first time that Lakeline Oaks is coming to us for the use of their beautification funds.
Okay, well, there is a stipulation with public funds, which is what these are. Once they come into the district, they are public funds. And you can't spend public funds on projects that are complete. They have to have approval prior to construction that you're going to fund it, not after.
Okay,
We can check with Michael on that to be certain, or Bill can check the law on that as well.
okay. So Bill, does that mean that we need to change how we're doing the reimbursement? And you're on mute.
Yeah, this is, I haven't researched it, that specific question, obviously, but this is not a district project. This is a project by the HOA.
Right. It doesn't matter who does the project, Bill. It's got to do with the funds. The funds are public, and public funds typically do not pay for work that is already complete. You have to have pre-approval to use those funds before you construct the project, regardless of who's initiating the project. It's still coming out of a public fund bucket. I think it's worth researching before we take a final vote on this, because if you do that wrong, then it is a violation of a whole bunch of other things. Public funds are treated very differently than personal funds. And these are public funds. Any dime that comes into the district has become public funds. But I am perfectly willing to let Bill look at that, research that. I did send you a financial management or financial manual, Bill, right before the meeting started. It's a lot of pages. I don't think you'll find it quickly, but you'll probably find it in there. I have no objection, though, to couching this and discussing it or voting on it on Wednesday. But I need to be certain that you can spend public funds after the work is complete. You can obligate those funds prior to an approval for spending them. Because in my experience, you can't do that.
What's your experience?
25 years in state government with laws that govern purchasing just like yours. Again, I'm willing to let Bill do that look, it won't take that long, probably not tonight, but before next Wednesday's meeting, and we vote on Wednesday when he clarifies that it is okay to do what you're trying to do.
Okay, so let's look at this. Is it possible that we can, do we have to completely table this for tonight, Bill? And take it up on Wednesday? What's the deal?
Well, I think that would probably be the cleanest, is to not vote on it. Because if you vote on it tonight, you'd have to put a contingency on there. And
Right?
that's probably not the best. We have the resolution. Linda, I guess, any of the board members, does anyone have any comments or concerns with the form of the resolution or any other aspect other than Linda's comment?
Bill, this has been a source of contention with me for 3 years, that you guys have taken money and set it aside like you have, but I'll respect that resolution if you will transfer the balance of Lakeline Oaks money to Lakeline Oaks HOA and let them do with it as they please and just get it out of your hands. And then we don't have to worry about, do they do the work first or second and pay them after without a board approval? We don't have to worry about that. If you're saying it's their money, you have a resolution that gives them that money, then give them the entire bucket, give them the whole bucket, and let them do with it as they choose.
Are you
do that?
saying, are you saying everything that's been designated for their beautification funds?
If the funds in Lakeline Oaks Beautification Fund is a result of fines collected from their residents, and that money rightfully belongs to the HOA, who is the one doing deed enforcement now anyways, then either one, use money collected in deed enforcement activity to pay the expense of deed enforcement, or the buckets of beautification money that you have, Lakeline Oaks, without hesitation, give them their money. Write a check to Lakeline Oaks HOA and give them the money that was collected from their residents. And then that HOA from this day forward has access to their money and they can spend it any way they want to. It's rightfully their money. Their residents paid the fines. It's their money. If that's how you want to handle, you see, I don't think it's their money. I think it's public funds once it comes into our bank account. And I really think at that point, it should be used to offset the cost to do that deed enforcement. That's what I think the right thing is to do. But I understand you guys had this set up a long time ago. If you want to make it right going forward, get out of the business of the beautification funds. There's no winning solution for you in the beautification funds. And if they rightfully belong to Lakeline Oaks, and I trust you tell me they came from deed collection there, then give it to them. Give it to the HOA. They can do what they will with it, and then you're out of that business.
Yeah, I'm not ready to go down that path at this point in time.
If they're the only ones that can touch it, what's your purpose for holding on to it? I need to understand that.
Linda, I have a question. So in the case of Lakeline Oaks, we just have the money and it's not accruing anymore at this point. But for the other neighborhoods where those funds are accruing additional fine money, are you suggesting the same thing for those as well, that we just give those neighborhoods the money as it comes in? Or what
if they have a bona fide HOA with a board that is responsible for the funds, bona fide HOA, no voluntary neighborhood associations. And Hunter's Glen too is really out of luck because there's a lot of money that's been collected there and they don't have any way to access it because they don't have an HOA and they don't have a neighborhood association. So literally they can't access their money, but you could use their money and you could use Anderson Mill West money to offset the cost of deed enforcement, because let's face it, that's where the majority of deed enforcement is occurring.
So is there a legal reason why why Hunter's Glen 2 and Anderson Mill West without an official HOA? Is there a legal reason why you're saying they shouldn't get their money, or is that just your opinion?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, Megan. I'm not a lawyer.
Right.
I think it is a moral reason and an ethical reason, because HOAs have residents who literally are mandatory participants and they mandatory pay dues. So they have a voice in their mini government called an HOA. Whereas the voluntary associations and Hunter's Glen, who has nothing, that's voluntary. And so it doesn't represent a fraction of the people who live in Anderson Mill West, as an example. So it wouldn't be fair to give that money to an organization that represents less than 1% of the people.
Okay.
It's not a legal opinion, it's my opinion.
Okay, that's what I was clarifying, because in the interest of having a discussion about this, that's important.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give you a legal opinion, but I can give you my opinion based on what I believe is fair and just. What I believe to be fair and just. And for Andrew's HOA, every resident in Lakeline Oaks is required to be a participant. So every resident gets the benefit of that money. Whereas in a voluntary situation, it doesn't work that way. Only people who choose to participate get a benefit from that money. Whereas we could remove all doubt and use those funds to actually pay for the service that generated them in the first place. That to me is the responsible thing to do. But I understand that Lakeline Oaks, that money was collected from their people. It's a different situation because rightfully, probably the money does belong to that HOA. And in ditto in Valente Hills, if you're collecting the fines, are you collecting fines for Valente, or do they collect them themselves? Catherine,
No.
do you know?
We're collecting fines for everybody but Lakeline Oaks at this point.
Okay, so you do
Yeah.
collect for Valente
Yeah.
Hills. Same
Yeah.
situation. Every resident in Valente Hills is obligated to be a member of that HOA. Therefore, whatever their elected HOA board decides to do with that money, those people, the residents, have a right to say something to that board, that HOA board, and have a voice into how that money gets spent. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
If-
So,
if-
hey, so Linda, your proposal or your suggestion is to give the money to the HOAs, right? Rather than have a beautification fund to
I
abolish the
don't
beautification.
like the idea of a beautification fund, because in both of my government services, never has a government had what I refer to as a slush fund, a discretionary account, if you will, that doesn't follow all the other prescribed budget processes, pre-approval processes. It doesn't follow any of that. It's a bucket of money that you hand out based on who comes in and asks, and not always for beautification purposes, as we all know. So it just doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't check with me. And honestly, I don't believe it's the best way to handle it. I think we spend $150,000+ a year for deed enforcement services. And if you're collecting money for providing those services to everyone except Lakeline Oaks, then it makes sense to me that the fines you collect would go to offset that cost, not to add it to somebody else's budget, but to offset the cost of the service. And maybe we can convince Lakeline Oaks to jump on board, because their people pay taxes too. And Andrew, please help me understand why you don't want the MUD to do your deed enforcement for you.
There's a long history of that within Lakeline Oaks, and I'm not going to speak on behalf of the board. So obviously I'm biased because I work for Goodwin, who does the deed enforcement restriction in
Yeah,
Lakeline
yeah.
Oaks.
Well, Valente
But-
Hill still has their manager as well. It's not like that goes away. And it doesn't really matter. I'm just saying because the people in Lakeline Oaks pay as much taxes as anybody else. They're
Mhm.
entitled to the same benefits and services. Honestly,
agree.
Catherine, I really believe that the landscaping at Lakeline Oaks, what they did, which is beautiful, by the way, I saw it today. I think it should be paid for out of your landscaping budget. That's what I really think it should be. That's the fair way. There people pay taxes here too. Why wouldn't you? You did the front of El Salito. You've
It's a
done
diff-
every corner down El Salito. It's not different, Catherine. You want to
It
make
is.
it different.
Well, it is different because correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, the property that you landscaped is actually Lakeline Oaks HOA or community property. Just like Hunter's Glen has got that great big space across from Sun Chase Park, that is actually owned by the HOA. And so the mud can't go into that space and do landscaping there,
It
etc.
doesn't mean you can't pay for it. I'm not suggesting you do it. That doesn't mean you can't pay for it out of budgeted public funds. You most certainly can.
Okay, so we have definitely gone astray here. So Bill, I need you to give me some guidance in terms of what we should do.
Okay. So let me clarify a couple things. I'm not ever going to tell the board what they should do. That's up to the board. But as far as these funds, these in our prior resolution makes it clear, these are general funds. They're unrestricted. So at any time, the board could vote to use this money however they want. It's not restricted to disbursement to certain HOAs. We've set up these accountings based upon the history of where the money came from and just the practice we've had in the past is, okay, that money came from your neighborhood. We're going to tag it in the accounting system. It's not restricted. We're going to track it and tag it so that if there's some need for that neighborhood, we would, on a case-by-case basis, look at it and see if it's valid. We've always, every request that's come up, we've never made a general distribution of, well, we're going to just give you all your money for your association to do what you want to do with it. I'm not saying that you couldn't do that because the money is not restricted, but so when we say the money came from that neighborhood, that's true. Came from that neighborhood in fines that the district collected, but that's not necessarily their money. It's just money that we've kind of set aside, we've tagged it, it's not restricted. So if the district wanted to spend money out of this account on anything, whether, let's say that they followed Linda's lead and you want to spend it on deed restriction enforcement, you want to spend it on other construction projects, you want to, you can. But the history has been that we've looked at these various communities and HOAs and said, we kind of want to put it back to that community, but you're not compelled to do that. Now, in the case of the pending motion, there's, like I said, there's nobody here from Infomart today on the accounting end. This is not going to get paid until the January check cycle.
Right.
So, I'm fine with if you decide to not vote on it tonight, to go ahead and research Linda's comments. But now Linda, you've made another comment, which is that you really would like to see all the money distributed. So is that tied to this resolution or just?
It isn't. I wouldn't want to hold this up for anyone, no, but I think it needs to be considered because this whole beautification fund debacle, I appreciate your history, Bill, but I think we can go back for the last 2 years and see that money collected out of Hunter's Glen 2 was gifted to Hunter's Glen 1 for a crawfish boil long before you started collecting for Hunter's Glen 1. So obviously that money, yes, although discretionary, it doesn't always pan out to benefit everyone equally. And when that happens, I have a problem with it. So
Okay, well, the issue that I'm trying to wrap my head around right now, Bill, is the whole issue of, are we allowed to, the order of operation that we're talking about right now, are we allowed to work this way? In the sense that, because the way we have always worked in the mud, and it's happened with every single HOA and with the neighborhood association, is they go about their business doing things and then they come back and say, hey, I can get reimbursed for this. And they use their beautifications for the kite festival or the crawfish boil or trimming trees, and they're coming back after the fact. And what Linda is saying is there's a specific order of operation that we have to follow, and it cannot be after the fact.
That was my concern too. I mean,
And-
are we doing it the right way?
Yeah, and I think the only way to know that is to let Bill do, or not even Bill, let Michael Luft. He should know, right? He does accounting for a government, so he'll know the process. He'll know what has to come first, or I can find him the reference.
I'm having a hard time believing that we're going to run into problems dispersing money the way we have. But I don't know.
So my only question, it sounds like this is going to get tabled. So your next meeting, is it this Wednesday or next Wednesday?
It's
I can-
this Wednesday. It is this Wednesday. Yeah.
This Wednesday? Let me-
Okay. So well, since you're still here, let's talk about Christmas lights, because guess what? You haven't done anything with Christmas lights, right? So I guess, are we going to vote on this?
Well,
You
actually,
know-
there are Christmas lights already over there, unless they're going to add more.
See, I guess I don't know what's over there. I haven't driven over there.
Looks nice.
Yeah, he started putting them up this weekend. So they did start going up. He's not done, so it's not complete, but
Okay.
it has been started. So since we're going to talk about it, yeah. So basically, what we would want to do is that it's going to come out to $1,160 in total for install the lights, maintaining the lights, and then removal of the lights at the end of the holiday season.
Okay.
So $1,160 is what that total would be. And then basically we were just figured that was something that we could use the beautification funds for, since that's stuff that we had talked about in the past. So
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Bill, I still don't know how to proceed here from a procedural point of view.
Well, like I said, as far as the timing, I
Yeah.
think waiting until Wednesday's meeting to vote on this, we have the general item is on there. We even
Okay.
added this as a backup. Give me time to look at Linda's specific comments.
Okay.
Right now, I don't foresee a problem going forward, but I think I would like the opportunity to review it. and take
Okay.
it.
Well then let's talk about the $1,160 that they're proposing that they want to spend right now. Is it appropriate for us to have a resolution for that right now?
Well, we don't have the actual request in writing. I would
Okay.
like to see the request in writing with the details. Maybe Andrew can present that to me, maybe tomorrow, or whenever he can present the information, whatever he has. We don't have anything in writing on that request. I'd like to see something in writing first.
So as
Okay.
far as it goes, in writing, I don't have the final invoice yet because the work hasn't been completed, but that sounds like that would be a error or order of operation error based on what Linda was saying. So as far as a formal written request, would an email from me stating that, hey, we would like $1,160 to do holiday lighting in Lakeland Oaks suffice, or what exactly do you need from me in order to get that
Yeah,
going?
the email would be helpful. Do you have a proposal from them? From the vendor? Do you have a proposal? Yeah,
Mhm.
you could include that with the email. I think that
Yeah.
would be a good start for request.
Okay.
It's just that we're talking about, we didn't have an actual request on that in writing. And
Sure.
probably what I'll do is rough draft a resolution similar to this one for Wednesday.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that's important because going forward with spring coming, we're gonna get a lot of requests. So we have to inform people if that is the case and they're gonna have some kind of project, they gotta have us.
Well, so does
Scope
that
of
mean, what the question then becomes, does that mean that they have to make a formal presentation at a board meeting? Or are they just saying they need to notify us that they're going to do this project and they're going to make a request in the future?
Well,
I think that would suffice, but
Yeah,
just
but-
something that,
I don't think it's required, although it would be preferable that they come to a meeting so they can answer questions. I think we need to have the request in writing so that we can act on it properly. You know, in the past, some of these requests have come up suddenly when we use the form motion kind of just, you know, abruptly. I think it's better practices to have the request so we can put it in a formal motion, have attachments, and give the board the opportunity to look at the details. I don't think that's come to a meeting necessarily.
Okay,
So,
okay. Okay, so then, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna table this particular motion until Wednesday, and we're gonna take it up again on Wednesday after we've heard from Bill or Michael. But then we're also gonna take up the holiday lighting resolution. And Andrew, what we're gonna need from you is to send Bill a copy of your proposal from the lighting company.
Absolutely. I can send you that. I'm actually typing that up right now.
Okay.
So I'll get that over to so do I need to copy anybody besides Bill on that, or just send it to Bill and he'll get it to all of you?
Yeah,
just
that'll
send
work.
it to me and I'll distribute it.
All right, sounds good.
As part of the-
All right, so then I'll do that. I'll report back to the Lakeline Oaks board.
Okay.
And then I'm trying to look. Do I have a conflict? Update a time. Do not think I have a meeting on Wednesday, so I should be able to be back. But if not, I probably can get either Hillary, Mike, or Justin, one of the LLO board members, to attend in my stead.
Okay. So the meeting on Wednesday starts at 6. And so it's pretty much the same format. We'll start with public comments. And then what I'll do is we'll move this agenda item to the front so that people don't have to stay.
I'd appreciate that as usual. So thank you very much, guys, for that. I do appreciate you. I know this one went a little off the rails tonight, but again, I appreciate it.
We'll be fine. We'll be fine.
taking the time. All right, well then I'm gonna let you guys. I'm done. I know what I need to do. I'll let you guys move on, and I'll hop off. And unless you need anything else from me before I go.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks,
Thank
Andrew.
you. I'll
Thank
see
you,
you
Andrew.
or somebody
Thank you,
else
guys.
on Wednesday then.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so agenda item 2, online postings, inaccurate or misleading site names, district information, communications to residents to correct misstatements. So does anybody have anything for that agenda item?
Catherine, can we circle back here if we need to? Because there's further down in the agenda.
Yeah.
There is some, but it might sort itself out. So I don't want to waste time here if it's not necessary.
You mean you want to talk about something related to agenda item 14 again?
No. Can we circle back around to correcting misstatements if it doesn't sort itself out through the rest of the agenda?
Oh, yeah, sure. That's not a problem.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So Jimmy and Diana, let's have the management report.
Yes, ma'am. We have the monthly summary that you guys were sent electronically. In November, we started doing our regular enforcement. And I should say we started adding any fines, posting fines if they came up. So there was a significant change in our numbers from October. From October to November. We had 5 trash cans in view. They were mostly friendlies and first formals that went out. We had 4 open storage. Both of the open storage violations that were noted in November have been ongoing and they have been escalated to legal. So I will let legal talk to y'all more about those details and where they are at. We've had 4 unregistered cars. 2 of those unregistered cars have been in the protocol before. We had waived fines for them. After the committee gave us the go-ahead, we went ahead and started to let the resident know that they were back on pre-fine and at fine stage. And then the other 2 unregistered vehicles have been on the protocol and have been escalated to legal. So I will let them legal talk to you about that.
Okay.
8 trailers, 3 RVs. There was a lot of people having family over in November because of the holidays and prepping for trips. They all got friendlies. We had 1 boat, 3 RVs, 6 trailers. We only had 2 fines that were issued, and it was still for the ongoing violation that had been escalated to legal. 4
Okay.
dumpsters. You've got lots of remodels going on, and there were repeats. It was the same 2 dumpsters we saw at the beginning of the month, at the end of the month. 2 pods, and they were move-ins, and we caught those at the end of the month, and they got their courtesy visit, letting them know that they had 30 days. And both those pods, I think, had been moved in December. We had 2 yards and a fencing issue. That fencing issue has been ongoing since February of 2020, and
Is that
we went into pandemic.
Valente Hills?
It is the one that's unresolved, and the committee is going to be working with the Valente Hills HOA to meet with them to see how we can resolve it. And then the other yard, we had 2 yards. One got resolved. The other one is in fine stage at this point, and we have not heard from them at all.
Okay.
Overnight parking violations, it was mostly friendly notices. First formal, the numbers came down a lot as soon as we went back onto the regular protocol. They were cut in half, and the people that had ongoing chronic situations with the parking, those got fixed. So we did not have any fines.
Okay. But now we're not enforcing overnight parking right now during the holidays.
We're not. The board voted to give a moratorium from Thanksgiving week until January,
Through the first week?
the 15th, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, so anything else?
No, we have not, for the fines that went out, we have not received any formal or informal appeals. And we have worked with Infomark to give them the information of which fines need to be posted to the accounts.
Okay. So I know that, so agenda item 4, pending appeals.
Hey, we're not done with 3. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay,
I
sorry.
thought you'd say any discussion. I was waiting for you to say that.
Okay,
You ready? You want to say it? Any discussion?
any discussion? Yeah.
Actually, I have a long list for item number 3.
Okay,
I thoroughly examined the tour report from Sage and only some of the letters that they sent to residents this month for alleged violations. I have many, many more letters to review. Bill sent a whole bunch right before the meeting started, so I haven't looked at any of those yet. But what I did look at, my very first question to you, Catherine, is who reviews the violation letters before they get sent out?
the violation letters are not reviewed by the subcommittee. They're not, Bill, do you review sometimes some of the letters are really complicated, so do you review them?
I mean, only if we're requested to. But when
Okay.
the letters go out from Sage, nobody reviews them before they go out.
Nobody
Right.
reviews them. Okay.
You have a
So-
standard friendly letter, right? You're talking about the friendly letter,
I'm
right?
talking about all the letters, Art, first fine, pre-fine, all that. And let me just, I'm gonna save time here. Every single letter I've looked at is riddled with errors and omissions. Everyone, no exceptions, including the link to where to go on the website to find your deed restriction or your deed, period. Most of the letters, if it's in Anderson Mill West, they don't even identify they're in Anderson Mill West. They just say section whatever. There was a section 16 violation. The letter says section 161. Nobody could get back to their deed on the MUD's website with the information in that letter. Every letter uses the phrase, the deed restrictions basically state in part There isn't a restriction out there that basically states anything. It's either in the deed or it isn't. It's coupled with grammatical mistakes and inconsistency, and it is a mockery if you look and read those letters. I cannot believe that no one has read those letters. So here are some of the highlights that I do not want you to miss.
Okay, wait a minute. I don't think that we need to hear all
Yes,
of this. No, we don't, because because the solution is not to continue the solution is to move forward and have the deed restriction committee review the letters.
no, it's more than that. It's
Yeah.
more than that. What about the people that have gotten letters for things that are not contained in their deed?
What we have to understand is that the letter, the way I understand the way the letters are designed is that they had a very specific format that had been approved under previously, where we had a letter that looked like X for friendlies, and then we had the 2 escalations, and then we went to the fines. Now, if you're saying that we've got a problem with our letters that need to be reviewed, fine, let's review the letters. But the board meeting is not the place to do it. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Well, the point I'd like to make to you is that if I don't tell you what the problems are, you can't fix them. And you're on that committee, not me.
That's right. So
So
I'm hearing
telling
about,
you what the
we got-
problems are.
okay, so now I'm hearing we got a problem.
Yes.
So, okay, so what we're gonna have, all I'm hearing now is that we're gonna have to have a review of the, what I'll call the templates. And then we're gonna have to have a more stringent review of the letters as they go out, because basically all of these letters are custom letters, because we are, correct me if I'm wrong, Jimmy and Diana, we are putting, we're taking language from the deed restriction and inserting it into the letter. Am I saying that correct?
And most of the letters, when we are not sure on how to word it, we send them to legal and they go ahead and check them out for us on those.
Okay. So what?
That doesn't work for me. That's not going to work for me. You are literally trampling on people's rights, claiming there are things in the deed that are not there.
Then
Catherine,
all,
we can take it to the committee and we can work at it at the committee level. If you all want to change the letters, that's the committee's.
I want, if deed enforcement has to happen in this district, it needs to be honest, it needs to be fair, and it needs to be just. And what I'm seeing,
and
in the
nobody's
letters,
arguing that.
none of that is happening. None of that is happening.
I disagree. I disagree with that.
Of course you do, because you're on the committee and you haven't read the
No.
letters.
Okay.
And you
So-
haven't read the letters.
No, I haven't read the letters.
So
because
you're defending what you don't even know.
I'm defending the process,
The
because
process is not working.
Okay, well then we'll fix the process, Okay, so what we're gonna need to do then, correct me, Jimmy and Diana, is we're gonna have to have a review of what I'm gonna call the letter templates that relate to each of the process, and we're gonna have to go over it with and get approval from Bill in terms of what the format is.
Yes, ma'am. I'll add it to our agenda for our next committee meeting.
Bill,
Okay.
Bill, I would like to interrupt. I'm sorry, Catherine. If I am not allowed to illuminate the problems to the rest of this board, they never surface. They never surface and they don't get corrected. And I have almost 2 years demonstrated of this particular problem. It's not the first time you've heard of it, Catherine. I've given you these problems before. You've done nothing. And it's not
okay.
fair for the rest of this board not to know exactly what the problem is.
I'm not arguing that, But what I'm saying is the board meetings are not the place where you go fix the problems.
The board meeting is the place to illuminate the problem, Catherine. That's
I'm
what-
not, and it has been illuminated. We have the DRC committee now has something that it needs to look at, and it'll come and we will work through the process.
I need the problems to be illuminated to the entire board so that they can be involved in the decisions going forward. It is, committees don't make decisions, Catherine.
Committees come up with processes that get brought back to the board.
They can't respectfully make decisions if they don't know what the problem is.
I'm not going to argue that. Okay. Okay, so agenda item 4, pending appeals of fines, violations of the district's rules governing, I don't think we have any.
I have an appeal that came to me.
There
is nothing that says I can't take an appeal.
I guess you're right.
Yeah,
Oh,
I am right.
am I correct? Because normally they come to the DRC, right?
Well, yeah, we know how that works, right? That's like the letters you're not reading. So let's not even go there. Let me give you this appeal.
Okay.
So I had a chat with the lady that lives on Birch Drive. You
Okay.
know,
Okay. Hold on.
no, it's an appeal.
Yeah. But no, wait a minute. I can't have a verbal appeal from you. I have to have a written appeal from the homeowner. I'm sorry. I am not going to accept a verbal appeal. That
You
I
accept
talked to my.
it from Jimmy and Diana Sagnis on a monthly basis. A monthly
They
basis.
get emails. They're
good.
getting
Good.
emails.
Well, then we'll take a look at those next then.
Okay.
You
okay.
want it in writing? I'll write it up for you.
No. Bill.
Yes.
Bill, correct me if I'm wrong. We had an issue of last year where a 17-year-old child wanted to appeal the fact that
I'm not a 17-year-old child, Catherine.
That's not the point. That's not the point I'm trying to make. That the 17-year-old kid living in the house wanted to appeal the fact that he had generated a fine, and we said, your mother, the account owner, needs to make the appeal. And so we kept waiting for that.
If you would like a letter from Miss Henry, I will be more than happy to deliver that to you personally.
Go ahead and have Miss Henry send us an email. That is fine. But appeals have to come from the account owner. We've had appeals that have come from people who lived in the house but weren't the account owner. And we keep saying the people who is the account owner is the person who has to submit the appeal.
Exactly. I'm not going to deny you that. I got it directly from the account owner. So
no,
you have a problem taking it from me, I'll give it to you in writing with her signature. Not a problem. Not a problem. Not a problem. I'll write it.
Okay.
But you're going to have a problem with this one that's going to be long lasting.
What? That people go to you and you verbally say this person wants to appeal?
No. This whole situation, the what she's described to me, the letters that have been sent to her, the history that Diana wrote up about this whole situation with this one particular resident that is, you violated your own residents' rights.
We're not, because we're not.
Of course, you don't want that to be in the public record.
No, we're not hearing an appeal. We're not hearing an appeal. We don't have the appeal yet. Okay. So, do we have Jimmy and Diane? I know we've talked. We've heard from a resident who wanted to have an appeal, but we haven't heard that the violation has been corrected yet. Am I correct about that? That we're still waiting to hear about the registration of the car?
He has not communicated with us on the registration on the car or on the appeal at this point.
Okay, and that's where I left it. Okay, we'll just wait and see if we get something from him. Okay, so let's see. Agenda item 5, coordination of reporting between Sage Management and Infomark on fines. Okay, so I'm assuming that, well, everything is copacetic. Tell me
Yes.
what's going on with that.
Well, we had our committee meeting, and at the committee meeting, we were given the directive to start posting the fines to the account. So we shared the information with Lee in the office. And after that, I mean, I'm pretty sure she's already posted it. I don't know if the residents are aware that it's on their account yet.
Okay.
We don't have access to that information, but on our end, we documented what the issues were. We sent the letters as instructed, and then we gave the information over to Infomark. And Matt McPhail worked with us on the ones that have been escalated to legal.
Okay. Hold on a moment. I got to get rid of my dog. Hold on. Okay. Okay.
So let me see if I understand this process you've set up here. You don't review the letters. You don't see who's going to be fined. And Sage Management sends a list of people to fine, and Infomark slaps it on their water bill. And there is no oversight by any member of this board. That explains why somebody got a $200 fine for a fence repair in section 1 that has nothing in the deed that says they even have to have a fence.
Okay. So the process has been that the deed restriction enforcement company does keeps track of the fines, and they are in communication with Infomark.
They are assessing fines. Not
They are
keeping
in
track.
communication.
They are assessing fines on their letters.
I'll
Read the
let you work.
letters. And they're assessing fines for things that are not contained in the deed. I don't know how to make it more clear to you, Catherine. I don't, but I have many letter examples now. How many would you like me to send you? You're fining people for things that are not contained in their deed.
Okay,
Section
then
1 has no
what-
restriction
okay,
for
okay.
trailers.
What we're going to have to do is we're going to have a coordination meeting with the DRC and Bill. Okay,
Yes.
Bill? Okay. So report, let's see, agenda item 6, report from the DRC and act on restrictive covenant enforcement. Okay, so I don't have anything on this. What do you have, Jimmy?
We're just that we're gonna, at the next committee, we're supposed to discuss the letters, and then we're gonna discuss the trash cans in view.
Okay. Okay. Agenda item 7, district policy regarding acceptance and documentation of emotional support animals. Okay, I'm going to, Bill, I'm going to ask you to jump in on this and explain what the requirements are.
Well, first of all, this is on the agenda for discussion. We haven't written a policy. We don't have a formal policy yet, but this is for discussion. We've had, I guess, one or more residents have indicated that they have emotional support animals, which is different than an assistant animal or, a seeing eye dog type service.
A service animal.
And so where we're obligated to accommodate it under certain circumstances is under the Fair Housing Act. Deed restrictions are related to use of your property. So under the Fair Housing Act, they do recognize emotional support animals, but there has to be justification for it, evidence of it, not just a statement by the owner. So typically the proof that it's an emotional support animal comes in the form of a letter from a physician or a mental health person indicating that indeed this animal is important to this person's health. And upon receipt of that type of letter, we will need to recognize that the animal can stay. It doesn't exempt the owner from complying with other regulations. Just because the animal's perhaps authorized to be there. That doesn't mean that they can create nuisance, noise or waste, things like that. It doesn't qualify for that. But so now that we've had a couple of people, I think 1 or 2 people indicate that they have emotional support animals, we need to have at least a fundamental process whereby we notify them that they need to submit the paperwork, which generally would be in the form of a letter from a physician for review by the board. And if it is indeed that type of letter that appears to be in that category, then it'll be my recommendation that we allow the animal, regardless of what the deed restrictions say.
I have a question for you, Bill.
Sure.
Does that, if you do that, every person has in their deed the right to pursue enforcement of that deed through small claims court? $125, you can take it to court and a judge will rule whether or not your neighbor has to comply with the deed. So if you make a policy that allows emotional support animals, let's just say chickens, and we have a deed restriction that clearly says no poultry, what would win, your policy or the deed?
Well, okay, I think that if indeed there is an emotional support animal that's supported by documentation, then not only will the district not be enforcing against that animal, I don't believe that any owner could enforce against it either. In other words, this is essentially a federal preemption of the restriction if it qualifies because of the Fair Housing Act. So I don't think any owner could actually take action like that either.
So if you live next door to chickens that are emotional support and you don't like it, you just need to move, basically.
Well, I'm not going to summarize it that way.
What's the recourse?
I don't think an individual will be able to enforce the restriction if the owner claims it's emotional support. I think that the law will provide that the animal, a reasonable accommodation of the need, that the judge would recognize that too, just like we're having.
But that's all based on having documentation. It's not just
A
saying.
doctor's note.
The doctor's note is the best way to address it. You could ask for other information, but the doctor's note will show that it indeed is a medical need, and that's when then we should respect that. Just the person just saying it usually would not be sufficient.
It's helpful if you're a nurse. You can get a doctor's note pretty easy.
Well, we know people can get them easier than you think, but
I believe
that's the legal aspect of it is that emotional support animals are recognized in the housing laws. And what we do is we would provide an accommodation by allowing it.
I understand.
That does not mean, like I said, it doesn't mean the animal can do anything they want.
I understand exactly what you're saying. Yes.
But
if that's the law, that's the law.
Right. But the question I also have is because this is what I've had coworkers tell me, yeah, my vet signed the letter, so that it was and I'm going, yeah, that I don't think that's acceptable. So are we allowed to say that that the emotional support animal has to be the doctor signing the letter saying it's a medical need, has to be a medical need for the person, and a vet doesn't take care of people?
I think that would be
I would think there would have to be a list
Yeah.
of animals that categorize for emotional support. I mean,
No.
There's no.
Then they brought up chickens. Really, a chicken is an emotional support? Would they really are?
Art, it could be.
Anything could be. Anything could be.
Now, a service, there's probably not. You're not going to have a service chicken, or a seeing eye chicken. But emotional support, it could potentially be any pet. Now, Catherine, your comment though on the vet writing a letter, I mean, we could take a look at it, but I don't think a vet can attest to the needs of the human. They're not human.
Right.
Well,
that probably would, if we reviewed that, probably be my recommendation to reject that letter from a vet.
Okay,
But it could be, it could be a therapist, it could be a physician, it could be somebody that works with that person. If they're willing
Okay.
to sign that letter, I think we'll probably respect it.
okay. So right now what we have to do is we have to just come up with the process is what you're saying. Now, does that mean that we're going to have an application? We're going to have a resolution. We'll need to have something on the website. So this is actually a DRC thing though. So it sounds like something that the DRC, another thing that the DRC committee is going to have to address. So what specifically are the things that we're going to have to come up with recommendations for?
Well, I think at a minimum, we should have a resolution that states what the policy is. And the policy should be along the lines that if an owner is claiming that a pet or animal that is otherwise precluded by the deed restrictions is indeed an emotional support animal, that they would need to provide written evidence of that, and the preferable evidence would be in the form of a doctor's letter or therapist's letter. I think
Okay.
we need to set it out there. Now, if they come back with other evidence, then we would look at it.
Okay.
And what that does is people know what they're supposed to do if they want to assert that. So something, it could be more complicated than that, but at least those simple steps.
So
And
how long do you give somebody to get that letter together? 6 months?
Well, at this point, we're just trying to come up with the process.
No, but you already have the problem, so.
Yeah, I understand. We have the problem, and it's important to remember that this only applies to types of animals that are restricted in the deed restrictions.
Right.
So dogs and cats, parrots.
What
not-
if somebody says, I need 100 doves because they provide emotional support, and they give you a letter that says I don't know anything about doves, I just picked them. Yeah, I mean, literally, you're opening up a can of worms. It's going to be pretty big. I understand, Bill, that the Housing Authority requires us to respect emotional support animals, but at some point, you can just kind of see where this is going to go. So
Just
how,
went online, you
yeah,
can do it.
if
There's
your
a business
chickens
that
are
actually does
emotional
that.
support, how many can you have? How many?
I don't know. See, now we're getting into, but
Need to know that up front.
well, you're taking this, down, really down the hole, but I
Well, it's been
understand.
6 months unaddressed with a neighbor that's complained every month for 6 months. You've done nothing. So let's try to move it along.
Okay. So Bill, is this on? I don't think there's anything on the Wednesday agenda for this, is there? I don't think there is, but the point I'm trying to make is let's make it a goal to have it on the January agenda.
yeah, we don't have it. We don't have these two policies on the Wednesday agenda.
Okay, but let's make sure that it's on the January agenda so that it forces us to get this resolved.
So, Bill, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So allowing the animal doesn't mean that the animal can be a nuisance.
Correct.
So what happens in the big reason why certain animals aren't allowed in communities like ours is because they do cause a nuisance
Mhm.
or can. So if there is a particular animal that is allowed because there's documentation that it's an emotional support animal, but then it's also documented that that animal is causing a nuisance, how is the nuisance dealt with separate from the fact that the animal's allowed to stay? And is there any point at which the animal is no longer allowed to stay because it can't be controlled in a way that isn't a nuisance?
Yeah, so the owner is responsible for controlling all their pets and animals, so even a legitimate, or not, I won't say legitimate, even a pet that's permitted under the deed restrictions, if it causes a nuisance, could create a deed restriction violation. That doesn't necessarily mean the animal has to go. It means the owner has to figure out a way to address the nuisance. So let's say somebody has an emotional support animal that is actually dangerous and they don't contain it in a cage or a house or something, then yes, they're probably going to violate the deed restrictions and cause other problems. So I don't know if we'll be in a position of telling the owner the animal has to leave, but if that's the only way they can control the violation, then that's what they'll have to do. If you have a dangerous pet and you consistently let it loose in the neighborhood, that's not gonna work. I don't care if it's emotional support or dog or whatever. So I think they're really two separate violations. Right now, we have a restriction against having the animal at all, and that's the only part that's being accepted to, is you can have it, but you still have to comply with the other deed restrictions.
Right. The other issues of your deed.
Did I answer your question, Megan?
Yeah, I think so. And to me, that's the important piece. Because if an animal isn't causing any harm and it's not bothering anyone, and then doesn't really, to me, it's not an issue. So the real issue to me is the nuisance that they could potentially cause to other property owners. So as long as that is can still be addressed, then I think that's an important piece of this.
Okay.
So Catherine, yes. Before we leave that topic, I think, yes, the written policy should be worked on by the DRC. Now, you'll recall we had a discussion that we may have a special meeting to address some things between meetings.
Okay.
And if it's ready, we could probably add that. And I know Megan has, she'll probably talk about it tomorrow. We'd like to move forward the communications policy, a few other items. Linda had some suggested agenda items that we didn't put on this week's agenda. So if there is a special meeting opportunity between meetings and this is ready, we could bring it back.
Okay. Okay, district policy regarding direct contract by directors with persons reporting deed restriction violations, persons accused of deed restriction violations. Okay, right now we don't have a policy that talks about our interaction with our neighbors, basically. And in the past, what we have done is when we've had a situation where something has come up, it was always Chris Rocco, because he was very good at interacting with neighbors and trying to problem solve. What we would go ahead and basically, send him out. We would authorize him to go out and sort of be the voice of the board trying to, solve a problem. And so that was sort of always an informal process, in the sense that we would authorize somebody to go talk to a neighbor to try to resolve a conflict, whether it was with a deed restriction problem or a conflict between neighbors. And I'm wondering if we want to make that a more defined policy because the reason I'm bringing this up is that we've had communications from residents that basically said, I do not want a specific board member calling me on the phone, emailing me, or coming to my door. And I do not want to be in a position where any board member is put in the position where a resident feels that they are being intimidated or harassed by a board member.
You allowed Jimmy and Diana Sagnis to do it without hesitation.
Jimmy and Diana are hired by the district, and that
They
is one of the
harass-
main,
they
that
harass
is one of
constituents.
the reasons that they were hired, because
Yeah.
they, unlike the previous deed restriction enforcement company, they wouldn't even get out of their cars. Jimmy and Diana talk to the residents.
It's proven
And-
not to be a good thing.
I disagree. I
Of
totally
course you do.
disagree. Yeah, I know you don't like Jimmy and Diana.
Oh, you want to make it personal. It's not personal. It's business.
I disagree.
It's business.
I disagree.
It is
I
the
think it's
property
personal.
rights of every constituent.
I disagree.
To serve.
But this is where we need to go. I don't know how should we solve this problem when we've got residents who are communicating, I do not want to be
Communicating
harassed.
to who? To you?
When I am being told that residents do not want to have the
No,
board of
hearsay.
directors come to their house,
No.
call
That's
them
the
on the phone, email them, how should we solve this problem?
We should have a contractor that's not dishonest and
Uh,
making stuff up.
Nope.
Yep. You better show
No,
me
how-
something in
Bill,
writing.
how should we solve this problem? Bill?
You're muted, Bill.
Yeah, I don't think it's a legal question on how to solve it. Catherine, and I was involved before Catherine got on the board too, and most everybody else is fairly new. She's correct. The practice in the past has been there would be a problem and then somebody would volunteer to go talk to the resident, but it was always by consensus of the board. It was not, we didn't have individual board members going out and talking to people that we really didn't know about. And I'm not, there's no legal guidance here on restricting contacts. It's just in the past, it was kind of case by case. Yes, Chris Rocco, and Chris, if you listen to the recording, we're not singling out, but he would volunteer and say, you know, if I think I can go talk to him, maybe, you know, I got a lawnmower, maybe I can help resolve it. And sometimes he didn't. Sometimes he came back and said, you know, they didn't want to talk to him and it didn't work.
Right.
But
Yeah, that happened too.
The history has been, we almost always knew before the contact was gonna happen. And so that's the reason, I think the reason we're having this discussion is because we have new board members and you know, do we need a process? Do we want to allow people to just contact residents? But it's not a legal decision, so I'm not going to make a recommendation.
Well, I guess what I would like to have is a process so that when we've got a problem in the community and we decide that we're going to try to solve this problem by having one of the board members do it, I want that to be a consensus of the board. What I don't want is for a board member to go out and contact a resident about a problem and the rest of the board not know about it. That's what I'm really trying to get at.
Well, we should make it conditional then. It has to meet a set of criteria. In other words, we meet as a board, we can't resolve the issue. There's a set of criteria that say, okay, our only alternative is to go talk to this person or have someone go talk to this person. So if it meets the criteria and we all agree to it, then that's the process we carry forward.
Well, the process is going to fail because oftentimes I don't go seek people out. They come to me and I'm not turning them away.
And you know what? And that's perfectly fine. Because you know what?
That's great, Linda.
Because that happens to all of us. But
Yeah.
I'm talking about the opposite side of the situation when where there's a conflict in the neighborhood and the resident has said, I don't want X board member coming to my house to talk to me about this. I will
Well,
talk
here's
to
the thing.
somebody else.
Well, let me tell you this. If there is a resident in this neighborhood who has made such a statement, you need to share it with every member of this board so that none of us get in a trespassing situation. If you've got something in writing from a resident in this district, you need to share that immediately.
See,
Don't
I
you
think,
put us
see,
in risk. Don't you put us in harm's way that way.
what I'm thinking is maybe we literally need to have a form that somebody can say that says, you know, I don't want to be contacted in person.
I guess why do we need this form?
We
Well,
don't.
Because
I'm just trying to come up with a process. That's what I'm saying.
Well, okay, so we're all pretty knowledgeable people. We all have common sense.
Uh-huh.
So if we have an issue, I would think that we would bring it up to the
Exactly.
to the mud board.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Okay, so if I have an issue, if Linda has an issue, Megan has an issue, as adults, we say, okay, well, I'm gonna go to the mud meeting, bring it up there and see what avenues are available to me so I can resolve my issue. Now, if they don't do that, we can't help them.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what happens, Art, as you saw in the beginning of this meeting. There are lots of issues that Catherine does not allow discussed in a public meeting. Because if we could get through them, we could take care of them. But she wants to save it for a committee meeting and then make decisions inside of a committee. And that's not how it works.
Well, I don't think she wants to do that. I think in the essence of
She doesn't
time,
want to address the problems in a
I
public.
disagree. Listen, the committees work on issues and they present solutions
Yes,
for the board.
right.
Yes.
They don't make the
Yes.
decisions.
Yes,
correct.
exactly.
They can't make a
Yes.
decision.
Yes.
They cannot make a decision. The
But
committee
that's not
cannot
what's
make the
happening here. That's not what's happening in deed enforcement, not even a little bit. In deed enforcement, the committee is making the decision, sending Sage Management out as the muscle, and then Sage Management is slapping fines on water bills. And the deed committee is so far removed, they don't even know how many people have been fined illegally for things that are not contained in their deed. That's an issue that needs to be resolved by the entire board, not by the DRC. They created the problem.
Okay. We're off topic here. So let's, I just wanted to bring this up.
You don't
I
need
don't know how to solve this problem.
It isn't a
Or-
problem. You don't need a policy.
Okay, well, if it comes up again, then we will I guess we'll have to bring it up again.
Art is right. If there is an issue, it comes to the board and then
I
a
agree.
decision is made.
I
That's
agree.
how it works. That's how it works.
I agree. Okay.
But
Okay.
I want to add, and I want this from you by the end of the week, Catherine. If there is a resident in this neighborhood who is forbidding a board member to speak to them, all of us need to know, especially the board member who's not supposed to be doing any talking to that resident, because I don't want any trespassing charges slapped on me. So share that information, or it's nothing more than fabrication, hearsay, and those gossipy stories you guys love to do.
Okay.
All right.
So agenda item, where are we?
9.
Nine.
Okay. Presentations by Anderson Mill West, Hunter's Glen, Lakeline Oaks, and Valente Hills. I don't think we have anybody left from anybody here for any of those. Agenda item 10, reports from the ACCs. We don't have anybody there. Okay. Hold on. Agenda item
12.
11. A request from Anderson Mill West, Hunter's Glen, Lakeline Oaks, Valente Hills, related to deed restriction enforcement. We don't have anybody, and I don't have any knowledge of anything. Do you, Jimmy or Diana?
No, we do not.
Okay. And agenda item 12, district's rules governing violation of deed restriction and the procedures and tasks associated with the enforcement of the rules. Okay. this is something that's going to have to be brought back down to the subcommittee, and then we're going to have to make some process changes, Bill. So let's make sure that we put this, Jimmy and Diana, on the agenda for the next DRC subcommittee meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
When you meet on this topic, I don't know what you're planning with the meeting purpose for this topic is, but I know that it begins with the board of directors of the district finds that enforcement of the deed restrictions is necessary to sustain taxable property values in the district.
Mm-hmm.
The board of directors of this MUD, excluding me, I don't agree that deed enforcement has any bearing on property values because the MUD does not set property values. The appraisal district does. So please change that front sentence. And also on your violation letters, not the whole board is involved in that. It's some of the board.
Okay.
I don't want to be lumped in with that because I don't agree with that.
Okay, so hold on. You just quoted the district rules of governing violate. Is that what you just said? And you
Yes.
and you said you want it changed to say to eliminate you.
Yes, because I don't believe that the enforcement of the deed has bearing on property values.
Okay.
Because the
Okay.
MUD district.
Yeah,
does
that's not.
set
It's not going to
property
happen. Linda.
Then, okay, then I'll just make my own disclaimer. That's fine.
Yeah, that's truly fine. You can make your own
I will.
disclaimer, but we are not going to be adjusting rules of
I didn't
enforcement.
vote on that. I didn't vote on that.
But you know what? There's lots of things that are in place that all of us have not voted on.
And
Think
some of
about
them
it.
need to be reevaluated. How about that?
Could I interject just procedurally? So Linda has a right to dissent. She has a right to vote against any approvals going forward. So if the rules come up, for approval, amended rules, you can vote against them, Linda, and say why. But the board actions are always by majority vote or by quorum vote. So the rules, the way the rules are stated is the board has determined by vote. So that doesn't say unanimously. The rules don't have to be unanimously adopted. So you can certainly vote against them and have your individual opinion as to whether you support that. But if there are 3 members of the board votes to approve them, they're going to read similar to what they read now. As the board.
Understood.
Okay. Okay. So we need. Did we receive the?
I attached the minutes with the update I sent that had the resolution as well.
Okay.
So it's the most recent. It should be the most recent invite for this meeting. I think it says update 3 attachments have been added.
Yeah.
Probably went out Saturday or Friday. Probably Saturday.
Okay. I'm not looking back far enough. Oh, maybe that was it. Now I keep opening up attachments with no, for agendas only and no
Yeah, so it's
letter.
after that. It would be one that says an update to this meeting. Let me see if I can find it.
I cannot find them.
So yes, went out. All right, so it went out on Saturday, 1:07 p.m.
Saturday's the 12th.
Right, the 12th, 1:07 p.m. It says update 3 attachments have been added.
Ah, there we go. I think I found it. Oh, okay.
Yep.
And
Minutes are 13, number 13.
yeah,
Which attachment is it?
13,
13. Okay, there we go.
item 13.
Okay, summary. No fines. No reports.
Okay. Is it dated November 16th, that one?
Yeah, it's November 16th, correct.
Okay. Comments.
Okay. I'm not seeing anything here that looks incorrect. Somebody want to make a motion to adopt the meetings, the minutes?
I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes,
Okay, for November
16th.
16th. I'll go ahead
2020.
and second that. Do we have any comments? Any discussion?
The minutes are not properly detailed. They don't rise to the level of what properly recorded minutes would look like. You can look at your regular meeting minutes and see the difference. I'm not going to vote on this one because I wasn't a member of the board when those minutes were taken, but I wanted you to know going forward that those are not minutes.
Okay, so what do you think is missing?
Take a look at, well, I'm not going to because I wasn't on the board at that time. You tell me what's missing. Go to the meeting and look and see, but take a look at the minutes for general board meetings and compare the two and you'll see the obvious differences.
Yeah, what I see in the board minute, in these board minutes is no action was taken, no action was taken. The agenda items, but there was an
There's
awful
no
lot.
discussion, none of that's recorded.
Catherine, this is Diana. Last year, the board voted and asked us to follow this format for the DRC meeting. We
Okay.
changed formats from the detail-oriented one. So this format was voted on by the board.
Okay.
To-
Okay.
To be less transparent? Wow.
I was not given the reason why.
I'm not asking you,
The directive.
Comment.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call the vote. Megan,
Yes.
Art,
Yes.
I'll vote yes, and Linda.
I'm abstaining from that vote.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, agenda item 14. I think we've already discussed everything that needs to be discussed on agenda item 14 earlier in the meeting. Agenda item 15 is district insurance coverage proposals, and I believe this is still just a placeholder, correct, Bill?
Yeah, Infomark's working on it. There were some questions on the applications. Certainly not ready for any kind of action today.
Okay, and okay.
Placeholders are not appropriate on an agenda. What
Pardon?
you're going to talk about, not what you don't have placeholders on a public agenda. You only have items that you're going to talk about.
Right.
Open
And
meeting
so
day.
the reason it was put on this agenda was a couple of meetings ago, the board wanted to proceed very quickly.
Mhm.
So we didn't know what would be available by the meeting. And
But when you know, then you'll put it on the agenda.
yeah, and Linda, we had a conversation earlier, and I agree with you that the best policy would be to know exactly what is going to be taken, what actions are going to be taken, have the document ready before we put it on the agenda. I agree with you that that's probably best practices. It just hasn't happened in recent years. So this was placed on in case it was ready because the board wanted to proceed, but it's not. And I knew about the time we posted this, that it probably wouldn't be, but not for sure.
Well, Bill, I accept that. I do. I really do. But because this board is configured differently now, I would really like to get into the practice of doing things that are really transparent to the public so that they know what we're going to talk about in these meetings, and then they can make a better decision if they want to participate. If you post a,
I don't disagree with your comment. I think it is something we need to move towards, but it's better practice. It just has not been possible up to this point. So
that's not a committee thing, is it? To do this
Not-
differently. That's not
not at the moment. I think it's a process that will just have to be tightened up. And so, after this round of meetings, we have Christmas and everything, but after this round of meetings, I think it would be appropriate for me to try to communicate with the new board members and the old board members and encourage more comments on the agendas, especially from committees. Like I could reach out to the committees and say, you have these items. Are you going to have any actual documents to present? And perhaps they would agree to trim down their agenda items. And that would make for a better meeting too. I agree. It just hasn't happened up to this point.
Maybe that's a goal for 2021.
Yeah, that would be, yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be better in 2021. It's
Everything
something.
will, yeah.
Okay. Agenda item 16, answers to prior questions from residents regarding district matters. I haven't received any questions. Does anybody
did.
have any questions?
I got one today.
Okay.
I got one from Sarah Teal. Of course. Did you just roll your eyes? That's rude.
Well, I'm sorry. She probably could have asked her, made a comment in public and during the public comment
Well, she
session.
does, but you don't answer. So now she's putting me on the spot because she helped with my campaign and she expects me to do the job of an elected official. So here we go. Why has the neighborhood group known as the Community Forum not been granted the same rights, privileges, and consideration as the private non-governmental group known as AMWANA?
I don't know who AMWANA is.
Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association. You ought to know, you're their treasurer.
Well, and you're calling it AMWANA as a
It's
sign of
faster.
it's a
It's
sign
faster.
it's a sign of disrespect.
Oh my goodness. It's your organization. It's a abbreviation.
You
AMWANA.
can, just call it the
Answer
neighborhood
the question.
association.
Just
Why haven't it? What have you presented anything to the board?
Yes, as a matter of fact, back a year and a half ago, they did.
Yes, and I believe that the board passed a resolution identifying the legal entities that are recognized by the board.
Well, that's the
And-
question she's asking. What
Yes.
does she need to do to be a legal entity in your eyes?
Go become a corporation. Listen, the HOAs are corporations and the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association is a nonprofit corporation registered with the state of Texas.
Is that what needs to happen?
I don't know.
Well,
But
if you tell me if that's the condition, she's listening. If that's her condition, she can do that. Just tell her what the rules are. That's all she wants to know. How do you make it equal for everyone in the neighborhood? That's her question. Answer her question and she can take care of whatever little check boxes you put in front of her.
at this point, we're going to have to take it under advisement. But I can tell you that is the difference between the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association, the HOAs for Lakeline Oaks, Hunters Glen, and Valente Hills, and the Facebook page of the I don't remember what it's called. That is the difference between being who the MUD has recognized and who isn't.
So you have to be a registered corporation. You got that?
I'm not saying that. I am telling you that anybody can declare themselves a group. That is what I'm saying. And the MUD passed a resolution recognizing these four
Yes,
four
But the MUD did
organizations.
not pass a resolution to say how somebody gets recognized. You limited it to your chosen groups. She's asking why. Why will you not tell her what it takes to get recognized in this neighborhood as a valid association with membership? So just tell her what you want her to do so she can be recognized. Her organization can be recognized just like Amwana, because it's no different than that.
Well, then we're going to just have to take it under advisement, and we're going to have to.
Whose advice are you going after?
What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to assign it to a subcommittee to come up with a resolution or something for the board.
We've got to define the criteria, right? Or there's something written under the statute that has that? You know, that's
No,
what we.
there's nothing written. There's otherwise, I mean, Sarah's a smart woman. She could have gone and read it and figured it out and done it. She's been asking for over a year. What is it going to take? What does she need to do to be recognized as a contributing association in this community? It has a following. You may not like it, but it has a following. She wants to be recognized no different than Amwana. So just just write something, put together your committee, whatever you need to do. You just need to give this woman an answer.
Okay. Okay. Agenda item 17, lawsuit against owners, 2202 London Lane, 2700 Tierra Blanco, etc. Do you have anything to share with us, Bill?
Okay, so to begin with, 17, 18, and 19 cover our pending litigation. I don't believe that an executive session on any of those is necessary tonight because there's no board action per se. I'll give you quick updates on the ones that were in litigation right now, and I'll answer questions, but I don't think we'll have to go in executive session. So on 17, we have two lawsuits pending, the 2202 London Lane. And the process there has been that the violations have stopped, lawsuits pending. And so on the committee level, at the DRC level, we're exploring settlement possibilities. The DRC is not committing to any settlement of the lawsuit. We're trying to see if there's a feasible way to settle the case without incurring a bunch more expense. And so we've been in touch with their attorney, and Matt McPhail from my office is awaiting a response from their attorney to see if the structure that the committee is considering is feasible. And if it is, then we'll be bringing it to the board for consideration. But the key part to note there is the violation is not continuing. So we're really just talking about resolving the lawsuit itself as far as terms and conditions, representations, agreements, and then the fines, attorney fees type, the money aspect. And frankly, settling a lawsuit when only money's involved is actually a lot easier than settling cases where you still have a violation continuing. So hopefully we'll have more to talk about that maybe next time. And I am encouraged that it may settle so that we're not pushing the case forward. 2700 Tierra Blanca, this actually is a problem. The violations are continuing. And in this case, we have a motion for default. I think Matt has to get an affidavit signed before it gets filed, but it's been prepared. The default motion asserts that the owner has not filed an answer. It's a no answer default. And so once we get the motion on file, we'll schedule it for a hearing before the judge. Unless the owner comes in and files an answer before that, we'll get a judgment against them, which will be along the lines of an injunction to force them to compel them to comply, along with the assessment of attorney fees and the fines that have accumulated. And so that case, that probably will move forward fairly quickly. It'll be a Zoom meeting or Zoom hearing, and we'll look to get it heard at the earliest possible time. We don't have to necessarily have witnesses. We have affidavits, but the people that sign the affidavits will probably have one stand by. I'm going to stop there, see if there's any questions on those two. cases
Yeah.
since we have new directors.
Well, let me ask the question about 2700 Tierra Blanco. I just want the place cleaned up. And I'm frustrated. And I'm not seeing the path to resolving this. So what happens?
If the owner does nothing,
Yes.
so the judgment will include an injunction. And once he's served, I don't know if it's he or she, but once the owners are served with the injunction, if they don't comply, then we can go back for contempt of court. And hopefully they would take it a lot more seriously if they have a court order. They obviously aren't taking the lawsuit very seriously because they haven't filed an answer. They've been served, but they haven't filed an answer.
And they have not even reached out via email or phone or to you or anything, correct?
No, not to our office.
Okay.
So I have a question on 22. Are you done, Catherine?
Yeah, that's fine.
2202 London Lane. This is street parking.
Yes.
Bill, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
A lawsuit because the gentleman parked in the street repeatedly, and we had a moratorium for 9 months that allowed street parking. So if street parking affects the value of property, which is the only authority the MUD has to enforce the deed, if it impacts the value of property, how can for 9 months or all these grace periods, all these exceptions be made and it not affect the value of property? But when this man does it, he gets sued for it.
Okay, before you answer, Bill, I'm not understanding your 9 months. What are you talking about?
Well, during the pandemic,
Right?
street parking was not cited, well, for him it was. He continued to be cited. But the rest,
No.
oh, yes, he did. Yes, he did. And there's letters to show it. But the rest of the neighborhood was not fined for parking in the street. As a matter of fact, right now we're under a moratorium where anyone can park in the street because it's holiday moratorium or something. So right now, for the period before Thanksgiving to the first of the year, parking in the street does not impact the value of property. Bill, have I missed something?
Catherine, are you finished? Can I answer?
Yeah, you go
Okay.
ahead and answer.
I'll answer I'm doing it partly by memory, but this case actually was a problem before the pandemic. This is the problem case. This owner was fined for the overnight parking and essentially conveyed back to the board, I forget if it was email or a statement, that there was no way they were going to ever pay those fines, that they had parked in the street for a long time and they're going to continue to park in the street. And actually I think it was the day after he was served with citation, he parked in the street again. But once he had a lawyer, the lawyer recommended they stop parking in the street. So it has stopped for quite a while. I don't know how many times during the pandemic he was actually fined, but it's not an ongoing thing. And it started before the moratorium on enforcement.
I understand that. And my question isn't about him specifically. It's more in general. If the water code gives the MUD the authority to enforce the deed, so long as it is related to the value of property. I can't read you the exact.
I don't think that is.
That is exactly what it says.
That's
it is for the
only.
purpose of sustaining property values. Yes.
So that's what the legislation said, that Bill, that gave the MUDs the authority to do deed restriction enforcement.
Yes, we have to find, and we do in our motions authorizing lawsuits, we have to find that the enforcing the restrictions does preserve the value of taxable property. It's part of the statute. She's correct.
So my question is, if that's the bar, that's the level, why is it okay for months out of the year you can park in the street and it doesn't impact the value of your property? And if you live on the east side of El Salito, you can park in the street every day and it doesn't affect the value of your property over there either. What I'm trying to say is that's going to be a hard argument to make. You allow it sometimes with no impact to the property value, and then you want to be punitive at times and make it a part of, or make it related to the value of property. You can't have it both ways. Either it's all the time, you don't park in the street, or never. You can't have it both ways and then argue that it sustains the value of property.
Bill, let me respond here before you do. I think that what we're talking about is a general overarching where we are enforcing the deed restrictions as they're written.
No, you're not. You're selective about.
No, what I'm saying is you talked about east of El Solito, you can park on the street overnight. That's the way the deed restrictions are written.
I'm not arguing that. And
Right.
I'll tell you what,
And
those properties increase at the exact same rate as the ones on the west side. So obviously parking in the street has no value on property appraisals.
Okay.
That's my message.
The point I'm trying to make is we are enforcing as it relates to parking in the street. We are
Bill just
enforcing it.
told you the statute.
I'm telling you, when we're enforcing it.
Bill,
okay.
Bill, give her the guidelines again. Give her the statute.
We're not.
Okay, hold on. First of all, we're getting into some legal discussion, so I don't want to go much further in open session. Perhaps next time we can have an executive session where we can talk about some of these details. But I'm not going to be the referee. You know, when it's a direct, you guys are entitled to your opinions and have a really lively discussion. But you can call me for legal questions. Don't call me to be a referee. Okay. So I think we kind of got out there. Yes, the statute does compels us to make that finding. When we get into the finer details of moratoriums during holidays and why we do that and our findings of the past, I think we need to reserve that for an executive session at a later date.
Okay. Okay.
Now, if we have other questions.
No, I don't have any about these two. I don't have anything else to ask.
And any other directors have questions on those two cases before we go on?
I would like to know why you don't want to discuss something that broad in a public forum where the public should have some understanding. You don't agree?
So you've only been on the board a short time. I'm going to ask you to kind of respect my judgment on what should be discussed in open session and what shouldn't, to preserve attorney-client privilege. And then after we have that opportunity in the future, if the board feels like as a board that they want to waive attorney-client privilege and get information out there, that's up to the board as a whole. I just don't feel comfortable. It's certain open sessions I don't feel comfortable going in that level of detail. Because the next part of what I was going to say would clearly be legal advice.
Well, I really didn't want a referee. I just wanted the law.
Okay. Well, all right. Appreciate that. Okay. Can we go on? The other lawsuits, all I'm going to say about 18 is it's still in discovery. There's no hearing scheduled. And 19 is the district has filed a counterclaim. So the lawsuit was filed against us, the counterclaim and response has been filed. I'm not aware of a hearing date on that one either, but we have special counsel on both of those lawsuits. So when I do get updates, I'll provide them to the board. But no, there's no board action required on them.
Okay. Okay. Well then, agenda item 20. Somebody needs to adjourn the meeting. Somebody make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Go ahead, Linda.
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Okay.
I second.
Okay. Everyone say aye.
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 Aye. Everyone have a
everybody.
good night. Bye-bye.